It's time to chill out and get ready for a mediocre Q&A live stream. If you're old enough, grab yourself your favorite adult beverage, and if you're not, stick with apple juice. Put your feet up and relax. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. And now let's cue up the intro music. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the HVACR videos live stream. I'm Chris. It's been a while, huh? It's been like over a month since I've done a stream. Been kind of crazy. We just got busy with life altogether, and then lots of crazy stuff. But hopefully, you guys had a good New Year, good holiday. I did. Very grateful for just very grateful, very thankful for everything too. So it's just been a very, very nice little mental break that I took from the live streams for a little bit. Kind of took a little bit of a break from the videos too, but I mean, I'm trying to stay as consistent as possible with the videos, but it's been good. It's been good. So, hey everybody, welcome. I see a lot of great regulars in the chat. Awesome people. If you guys, hopefully some of you are going to AHR here, in another week and a half or something like that. We're going to be at AHR. So that's going to be awesome. Something like that, somewhere around there. Or, well, we start the AHR thing, right? Because for me, it's the symposium's what kicks it off. So we're going to start, let's see, next Wednesday, my wife, HVACR wife, and I are going to be flying out to Orlando. We're going to be going to the HVACR training symposium put on by HVAC school. So that's going to be awesome. And then we're going to hang out for a couple days in Orlando. And then we have AHR starting on Monday. And I'll be at AHR from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I'm going to be putting out a bunch of social media posts as the week gets closer. And I'll be announcing the schedule as to where I'll be and stuff. So if any of you guys are there, man, come over, say hi. Let's have a conversation. I got bunch of I'm going to be taking a bunch of stickers and stuff with me, so that'll be cool. But we'll be at a couple different booths, so I'll be announcing the places where I'll be and the times that I'll be for those that are going to AHR, and I look forward to meeting all y'all if you make it out there. I know I'm looking through the chat, I'm seeing a bunch of people in here that I know are going to be there, so that's really awesome. It's going to be a bit. Oh, I'm glad. That's awesome, Jason. You're going to go to AHR. Sweet, man. So definitely come by, say what's up, man. We're going to have a discussion. We'll talk. It'll be cool. Let's see. Mike B says he's going to be in Stone Mountain, Georgia at the beginning of March. You're going to be doing some heatcraft training there, Mike? Man, I want to go back to Stone Mountain again. Had the opportunity to tour the heatcraft facility in Stone Mountain 2 times. And then I've also been out to the Tifton facility too. And that was awesome. You know, the crazy thing is when it was about 2 years ago that I went out to Tifton and I shot a bunch of footage, but it just didn't turn out. And it was kind of a bummer because I was recently going through this footage like, man, is there something I could do with this? But the footage just is really difficult to edit, you know, so it's kind of a bummer, but I wanted to be able to share the Tifton visit with everybody. Maybe I can turn some of it into like shorts and stuff like that. Maybe some full social media posts. That'll be awesome, but stay tuned. I've been sitting on that footage for a while. It's really awesome to go to Tifton. So a lot of great people working there. Let's see. Freon. Yeah. Message me, man. So message me for sure. Let's see what else. Yeah. You know, for those that are new to this, for those that are popping in here right now, you know, this is my Q&A live stream. If you haven't been in here before, if you guys have questions, things you want me to talk about, throw them in the chat, put them in caps lock, all capital letters, helps me to be able to see them. I'll try to get to your questions, your comments. Got a couple things on a list that I want to talk about. If I miss your questions or comments, feel free to shoot me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com. All right. So last week I had it was Friday, actually. Friday? Yeah, I think it was Friday. It was either Thursday or Friday. I was doing a walk-in freezer door at a restaurant. So we were changing a bolt-on walk-in freezer door, and things were going great. Actually, I blame my coworker, Will, actually. I told him, too. I told him this was his fault because about halfway through, he made a comment of how good the job was going. And I was like, dude, you can't say that kind of stuff, right? So we were rounding the end of the job. The door was looking great. We were making good time, and it was time to start sealing up the trim. So we hung the trim on the inside of the door. If you guys have never done one of these walk-in freezer doors, they're bolt-on doors. So you take out the existing door, you leave the existing frame, the door goes over the existing frame, and then it usually has some trim and some wood that fills in the gaps from the existing frame. Anyways, I do these things a bunch. They're super like repetitive to me, but anyways, whatever. Not saying that like I'm like the best in the world or anything. It's not that. It's just that I do them so much, they just kind of become like, okay, here we go, another one. It's just like cookie cutter to me. But so we were doing the trim, and it was time to seal up the trim. So this is a tube of silicone right here. This is an awesome tube of silicone, okay? This will all make sense when I explain this. This is the kind that you can pull the tip off, and you just take a razor blade, you slice off the edge of this one, twist this back on, and you can trim the silicone, right? I wasn't using that silicone. I was using the stuff from the budget stuff, the windows and doors, the bathroom clear silicone from just like Home Depot, just basic, you know, freeze proof silicone. And you have to cut the tip, and then you've got to pierce it, right? You've got to pierce the tube. A lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. If you don't, well, get ready for a fun ride. So the caulking gun that I have has a little thing where you can cut it. Right here, right? This is just a cheap budget painter's caulking gun. You can cut it with this little thing right here. And then when you're done with that, you take this out. It's like a little needle on the end of the thing, and you pierce the silicone, right? In there, you push it through, it pierces the little membrane that's inside of the silicone right here. And one of the things that happens when you do that is, you know, you pierce it, but sometimes if you've done it a lot, you know that you got to pierce it in a bunch of spots. So you pull the needle out, you push it in another spot, you push it in another spot, you push it in another spot, all in that little tube, right? So I was holding the silicone like this, right? And I was piercing it, and I missed I pulled it out of the silicone, and I missed it, and it went into the webbing of my knuckle right here. I have a little mark right there. Little itty bitty mark. It went in. I don't know how far it went in, but my whole hand felt like it got shocked, and then it went numb. Wow. what a pucker moment when that happened, because my whole hand just went numb, and I poked it with that little rod right there, and it went right into there. Holy moly. So 10 minutes, I'm just like going, okay. And I was in the middle of something and I knew I messed up, but then I had gloves on. So I was like, I'm not taking the glove off. I'm finishing what I'm doing. And I finished what I was doing because I knew that when I took that glove off, it was going to be bad. Right. So I pulled the glove off, nothing, no blood, no anything, just a little itty bitty red mark. So, long story short, all weekend, my hand was swelling up. It was going down. It was swelling up. I was worried. I didn't know what, if I was going to have a reaction to the silicone, because the silicone probably punctured me. Right. And I was like, oh, I don't know. It was swelling up and it was like kind of frustrating. So I was just taking some Advil, watching it. It wasn't getting it was painful, but it wasn't getting worse, and like when I would take Advil, the swelling would go down. I iced it. And then, anyways, it slowly came back, the use, and today it's been about 5 days, I think, and it's slowly coming back. But boy, was that a scary moment. And I was like, because I didn't know if I was going to have a reaction. I had gotten a tetanus shot like a year ago, so I'm good on that. I'm not worried about tetanus or anything. But yeah, that straight went in and hit like a nerve in the webbing of my fingers. That was nuts. Man. All right, let's see what else we got going on in the chat. My wife said that she thought that the silicone is the reason why it didn't bleed. And I was like, I guess maybe there was still silicone when I pulled the thing out. I don't know. It just didn't even bleed. Not even a drop. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, that was rough. All right, let's see what we got going on in the chat right now. Yeah, funny bone kind of a thing. Yeah, for sure. It was just kind of like, whoa, scary. Okay. Yeah, lots of great people in the chat too. This is awesome. Okay, so I had a video about a week ago, I think, and it was installing a smoke detector. It was the most recent video. I had a smoke detector. I think it was last Wednesday, actually, or last Thursday. So yeah, I installed a smoke detector. What a pain that detector was. Normally, just because it was just like, man, opening Pandora's box. I knew if I started trying to relocate it, it was going to turn into a disaster. Go give the video a watch. It'll make more sense. But anyways, someone had made a comment in the comments, and it just kind of, struck a nerve with me in a way. So, but I also understand the comment. But someone had said, that was like a massive safety hazard that I was in the attic. What happens if something happened and I couldn't get down? It was dangerous, basically. And yes, I will agree that with this trade, there's going to be inherent dangers. There is going to be inherent dangers. It's about using common sense, only doing what you're comfortable with, and thinking things through. Okay. OSHA regulations, those are minimum regulations. And I mean, let's be honest. I know they're about safety, but sometimes they push the limit a little bit too far. But people need to be able to use common sense. Okay. Don't get themselves into a bad situation. But when I'm in an attic like that, I've understand when you're watching on film, you're not seeing what's going through my brain. You're just hearing what I choose to say. Okay. I'm the kind of person that as I'm going into an attic, I've already thought of what's going to happen. If something was to happen in that attic and I needed to get down, it's tongue and groove sealing. All I have to do is put a little bit of weight on that tongue and groove and I'll go through it. Okay. Not that you want to do that, but I mean, if worst case you have to, you got to. Okay. You just got to be sure that, you understand what could go wrong, and that helps you to prepare. Now, if you're going into a confined space where, there could be issues with gases or things like that, of course you want to be cautious, paying attention. But climbing in an attic, I really don't see the big deal with that. There is risks, but you just need to make sure you're ready for them. If it's too hot, if it's too cold, make sure people know where you are, have an exit route, that kind of stuff. Okay. All right. Let's see what else we got going on in here. Common sense isn't that common anymore. That's true. That's true for sure. Okay. Reading through the chat. Let's see. Steve says he has a bunch of R290 units with pinhole leaks in the evaporators. Is it refrigerant or what product they put inside? I don't think it's the product they put inside, and I don't think it's the refrigerant. A lot of people, and I see some people in the chat are saying the same thing that I'm, kind of thinking the same thing I'm thinking too. I don't think it has anything to do with the R290. I don't think it has anything to do with the oil. I think it has to do with the fact that to gain efficiency, they're making copper thinner and thinner. And I know this was expressed in the chat too. And when they make copper thinner and thinner, we get more refrigerant leaks. They're more susceptible to the same environments that they're in. Remember, you can go find an evaporator coil, right? If any of you do walk-in refrigerators in restaurants or anything like that, go find an evaporator coil that's 20 years old. I have a Bone Space Miser evaporator coil that's from 1992. That's still 1994, I think. That's still in operation. We really need to change it, but it's still in operation. If you go pull the cover off, not really many repairs have ever been done to that equipment. But if you look at the copper is extremely pitted out all over the place, and it has a green tint to it. Okay, why is that not leaking? But why is something that we install, 6 months ago start leaking right away? And it's because the copper is thinner in the old equipment. So the corrosion's still there. The contaminants in the box are still there. Nothing's really changed with that. It's just that there's less copper for the contaminants to eat through before it starts a leak, basically. And so you get more leaks. That's my opinion on the matter. I don't think it has anything to do with the R290. I know a lot of people associate it with it, but I really don't think it has anything to do with that. But I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm always willing to learn and looking to learn, okay? Okay, see what else we got going on in here. On a rack, what's my go-to method for finding shorts? You found a short on a solenoid on a suction line on a Sorit valve, but it took a while to find. Any faster ways to find them? Oh, interesting. So, I mean, when it comes to electrical shorts, first off, understanding how the system works is so critical. If you don't understand what components are what, and you don't understand where the electrical lines are going, it is going to be very difficult to find electrical shorts. But even if you don't, you can still do it. You can get out a meter. You can start testing components. You can start testing sections of wire. You can get out depending on the gauge of the wire and how big it is, carefully. You can use insulation testers and things like that. But again, you got to be very careful when you get to the small stuff and, into stuff that's connected to systems. You got to use common sense when you use an installation tester. Okay. But, it really, the best piece of advice that I can give you is just understand how the system works, right? And work it through in your head. Think about the components. You just use common sense, deductive reasoning. And I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but that's how my brain does things. And unfortunately, it's a little difficult for me to sometimes express the way that I do things in words per se. That's why I tend to, make the videos that I make. I can still express in the words that I can come up with, but you notice that sometimes I don't say things correctly, but you can see it in my actions. So even if I don't say something 100% correctly, you can see that my brain is still making my hands do the action I'm thinking about. It's just not coming out of my mouth correctly. Anyways, but, but just deductive reasoning, using common sense, and working your way through the problem. Start with components, think about it. For instance, I'm going to give you an example. Walk-in freezer. We have an intermittent electrical short. It's blowing a fuse. Okay. What fuse is it? Well, if you're lucky, it's a control circuit fuse. But if you're not lucky, it's a main system fuse. Okay. But let's say it's not a control circuit fuse and it's a main system fuse. Okay. It's blowing a fuse. I'm not just going to put a fuse in it and turn it on. I'm going to start using troubleshooting logic, and with the system off, I'm going to start testing for continuity to ground on the load side of the disconnect switch with the fuses not in the picture, and work my way back through the system, checking, ground to a component, moving to the next component, ground to a component, and electrical wires, and moving my way back. It just takes time. You just got to start. So I don't know if that answers what you were asking, but it's just really just working your way through the system. Sometimes electrical shorts just take a while. Okay. What do I think of Leak Seal? Mark Lopez is asking. And additives. You don't use them, but recently had a coworker add it to a system and someone went behind him a month later and found a plugged cap tube. Okay, Mark, here's the deal. I personally have used leak sealers maybe like 3 times in my career, and it's all been when the customer has demanded it from me. I personally don't like leak sealers because I don't understand them. They just don't make sense to me. And I know that, you can read the marketing materials or the installation instructions or the marketing funded reviews, or the marketing funded, videos made and stuff like that, will tell you that it's perfectly safe. It doesn't do anything to the system, but I just don't understand it. And I have trust issues. Okay. And I don't trust those manufacturers necessarily. If I can get Copeland to back up an additive and to say that an additive is safe in their compressors, then I'd feel a lot more comfortable using additives. But the interesting thing is a lot of people don't know this, but there is additives out there. Like, for instance, certain, not all of them, but certain fluorescent dyes are approved in certain scenarios in Copeland compressors. What that means is that the dye company paid a large amount of money to have that dye tested in the specific scenarios, and Copeland, in the situation of that, approved it. Now, the manufacturer of the dye had to pay for that all themselves, and it's a lot of money for Copeland to do all that testing. Okay, so there is a dye manufacturer that does have some applications, and keyword is some applications, and this is where things start getting tricky. Even with that manufacturer that has some applications that are approved, they have some deceptive marketing saying that it's just Copeland approved, when in fact it's Copeland approved in certain situations, in certain systems, okay? Not in all systems blanket across the line. So some manufacturers, they're misleading in their marketing materials, so be cautious about that, okay? Next thing is that, I just don't feel comfortable putting in something that's in the system that doesn't belong, okay? Now, here's the thing. I've said this many times in the past. Coming up in my career, I used to use acid, neutralizers that you'd put into the system. I used to use flushes that you'd put into the system. And to be fair, personally, I never had an issue with any of those systems that I did the flushes or the acid neutralizers in. Okay. I never had a problem, but I also, hadn't worked for those companies for very much longer after that, maybe 5-6 years. Okay. So I don't know the long-term effects of those additives, and I just don't really feel super comfortable using the additives. So for me personally, I don't like the leak sealers. I don't like the dyes. Okay. But I'm not judging people for using them. It's just not my style. It's just not what I want to do. Okay. I prefer to, just keep refrigerant and oil. So when I'm cleaning out a system, let's say I have a burnt out compressor that's really bad. You know what? I just disassemble the system strategically. I will take nitrogen and clean out the system as best as possible in the certain areas. So like, for instance, from the dryer to the TXV, I'll clean it out. A lot of times when I have a very, very severe burnt system, I'm going to change the expansion valve because they're usually not serviceable. So we'll usually change the expansion valve. So I'll utilize that time when I have the expansion valve out of the system to flush out the lines. Now, I also understand that there can still be a lot of contaminants throughout the system. And that's just one of the downsides to having severe burns in a system, is that it takes a while to clean up, and there's no 100% guarantee that it's going to be an easy process to clean a system up. It is what it is. Good filter dryers, if need be, check the filter dryers in a week or two. Is it starting to plug up? Change the filter dryer again, that kind of stuff, running the refrigerant when you're recovering it through, burnout dryers, basically, charcoal core ones, that are really, really cleaning up the system when you're removing the refrigerant. That's a good idea too. So anyways, that's kind of how I do it. I'm just not a huge fan of the additives. What do you guys think in the chat? Are you guys doing a lot of the additives? I mean, are you comfortable with them? I'm genuinely kind of curious. And again, I'm not, upset when people do that. I'm just really curious. Reading through here. Let's see, Raj, I think that's how you pronounce your name. You're saying that you found a graphene coil coating called Thermal XR being introduced to the US by GMG. Their case studies have shown a performance improvement and lower powder consumption. Have I heard about it? No. I'd be very interested to hear a little bit more about that. So if you have any information or any links, shoot me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com. I'm always genuinely curious about new products. All right. You know what? My favorite time about this time of the year is that tea. I love having tea. It's always in the summer. It's just too hot. But, in the fall and the winter, it's really nice to be able to have tea. I have tea almost every night. Some sort of a mint tea or a chamomile tea. Love tea. All right. Okay. Nasty says that if leak sealer was as good as it says it is, Copeland would mix it with their oil. Hey, Nasty said it. That's a great point. And I've read that before. I think you might have said it before. I've heard someone else say that too, is that, yeah, if it was really this amazing product, then Copeland would be buying it wholesale and putting it in their compressors and using it as a marketing selling point or something like that, right? Yeah, seriously. 100%. They would be doing that. So, all right, let's see what else. Which one do I think fails more? Regular compressors or variable speed compressors? I mean, for what I deal with, regular compressors, because I don't have a lot of variable speed compressors in the equipment that I'm working in. We're starting to get more and more of it, but I wouldn't necessarily say they fail. But I will say that with variable speed compressors, I was actually watching Roman Baugh, who works for Kalos Services. He's the commercial services manager, I think, for Kalos, I believe. Anyways, he's a big VRF guy. And if you guys don't follow him on social media, if any of you guys moderators could post a link to Roman's YouTube channel or something like that, that'd be amazing. That'd be really cool. But anyways, Roman has a great YouTube channel. So he was recently making a video, and he does these compressor analysis videos where, like, hands down, a million times better than anything I could even think of doing. He has a special machine that he uses to cut the compressors open, so that way there's minimal mess. I'm just using an angle grinder, basically, so sparks go in the compressor. Yeah, there's contaminants added to it. So he's doing these analysis of compressors when there's no contaminants added to the system whatsoever, or to the compressor, as you're cutting it open. And it's really awesome because the damage you can see and the color in the oil and things like that when there's nothing added to it from, cutting it open, it's amazing. But these VRF compressors, I don't think necessarily, in my opinion, that in these variable speed compressors, I don't think necessarily that they fail more, but I will say they're more susceptible to failure, if that makes sense. Okay. Because a lot of the times they are going to max the compressor speeds out like crazy amounts in those big systems, right? Because they're variable speed. So they're going to be running really high. And when you have customers that don't do good quality installations, or don't pay for good quality installations, and they don't do good quality routine maintenance, the systems, in my opinion, are going to have more issues. And this goes for anything in our trade, right? The harder you run it, the more susceptible it's going to be to breakdowns because of lack of maintenance. So keep that in mind. But I don't necessarily think that variable speed compressors fail more. Now, there's certain manufacturers that maybe are a budget manufacturer that make compressors. Some of you guys in the chat can go ahead and you know what? I encourage everybody in the chat. I'm not going to acknowledge what the name of the manufacturer is, but tell me what manufacturer, in my opinion, makes the worst compressors that I deal with. Those of you that watch my videos on a regular, you probably get the sentiment. I usually don't like to call people out, so people usually can figure it out just from the way that I talk. There's a certain manufacturer of compressors that they just don't make the highest quality, but I bet you that they probably do have some high quality compressors too. And, or have the ability to make high quality compressors, but it's really just what the market demands of them. So let's see if anybody in the chat can say the name. Oh yeah. Yep. They're already saying it like crazy in the chat. 100%. Total Tech says Copeland doesn't manufacture refrigerant oil. That's a great point. They don't, but they do have it already in their compressors. But yes, I do understand your point there, Total Tech. How do I suggest HVAC techs save for retirement, since most companies do not have 401ks and or layoffs are so common in the field? Scott, great question, man. So here's the deal. First off, I'm not a financial advisor. I need a financial advisor myself. Okay. I'm not an excellent person, but I will say that one good thing that I could highly suggest that you do is start researching, people similar to Dave Ramsey and his style of thinking, because he does have some really good financial advice. So I'd look into that kind of stuff, follow him, get some ideas. I used a lot of Dave Ramsey's ideas to get my life in order financially. And this is not a plug for him, but, just whatever. But I'm not a financial person. So, talk to a financial advisor, and make sure that you're thinking big picture when it comes to retirement and stuff like that. You definitely need to, really, really fund a retirement, though, for sure, because you can't be counting on government assistance when you retire, because let's not get into that. All right. What do I think of Trane's new R454B? And then also, so R454B, it's just another one of the R32 refrigerants, really. R454B has R32 in it, and I believe it's R1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, YZ, XC or something like that. But it has R32 in that 1, 2, 3, 4 or whatever one YZ thing, and mixed in it. So I mean, whatever. It's just another flavor of refrigerant. Look, here's the thing. Don't even get used to it. If you thought it was quick with 410, the phase out of R32 is even faster. Okay. So, and 454B, those two right there are going to be gone even faster than 410 left. Okay. So it's just another refrigerant we're going to have to deal with for another couple years, you know, maybe 10 years, whatever it is, and then 20 years, and we'll be moving on to the next one. So 1234 YF. There you go. Has anybody tried the JB Bluetooth tools that were released recently? Tiffany. Yeah, I mean, I don't, yeah, I did. I didn't buy. Yes, I tried out all the JB tools. I had all the wireless ones and they just weren't for me. Okay. So, gave them to one of my service techs and, they weren't for him either. So, we just are Fieldpiece people. So nothing against that. Some people swear by the new JB things. One thing that I will say that's really cool about the JB wireless tools that I really, really appreciate, and I hope to see the next iteration of their wireless tools, but I really appreciate the screen that they have on their wireless tools. I do appreciate the screen, but the screen is a little difficult. If you wear polarized sunglasses in the sun, you can't see the screen with your sunglasses on. It's the weirdest thing, but it's the type of screen that they use with polarized glasses. So they just weren't for me, but to each their own. I know a lot of people that do love them. Just not my style. So let's see what else we got going on in the chat. Let's see. Nasty says you've heard good things about the JB probes. Yeah, you know what? To each their own. Some people like them. They're just not my jam. You know, I like the accuracy of the Fieldpiece and the setup. Just, I don't know. I just like the Fieldpiece stuff better. What's my opinion on going towards VRF as high efficiency gets pushed more and more? You know, I don't really have a huge opinion on that. VRF is a new, a newer technology that's being massively implemented at a big rate right now. So I know it's been around for a long time, but it hasn't been implemented as much as is being implemented right now. You're starting to see VRF technology with the variable speed systems and everything. You're starting to see that come into like the residential market because that's when you're getting the variable capacity systems, and then it's popping. It really hasn't entered refrigeration too much, and at least not so much on the light commercial side. But it's slowly coming out where you're starting to get more tech in the refrigeration. The thing is that with the fancy tech and the light commercial stuff, you know, if you get into the commercial heavy industrial, you can have more automations in your systems because the capital, you know, people have the capital to buy the highly advanced systems on the heavy industrial commercial side. In the light commercial sector, the return on investment is a little difficult for the customers to stomach. So you haven't, in my opinion, you haven't seen the huge influx of inverter systems into refrigeration and light commercial so much, and variable capacity systems so much in the light commercial side, but it will come eventually, if that makes sense. So, all right, got a couple more things. Reading through the chat. So this one always happens when I do walk-in freezer videos. I had a video recently where it was a beer walk-in that wasn't working, and I was troubleshooting it, and just like things weren't making sense. And then after talking with the kitchen staff and the management, and you know, the phone call that I got, and just doing some math in my head, I realized that the equipment was off at the circuit breaker. Now I didn't find it off at the circuit breaker, but I was able to confirm that, you know, because when I walked up, it was like coming down to temperature, like it had just been turned on. And, you know, the manager didn't know why, but we talked to the kitchen staff, and that particular restaurant uses circuit breakers for their exhaust fans to turn the exhaust fans off. So, whenever I talk about that, I have a bunch of customers that do that. Whenever I talk about that, you know, I get all the people in the chat telling me that it's my duty and my responsibility to explain to the customer that they can't do that and it's wrong and all this different stuff. Look, guys, I know it's wrong. I know you shouldn't be using breakers as switches, but you know, there's only so much I can do with these customers, right? I tell them, I give them the information. They choose to just keep using it as a circuit breaker. Then they're going to lose a circuit breaker. You know, like, I mean, I'm just there to fix things and give them advice, and they choose what they want to do. It's, you know, that's what I do. So anyways, you know, I'm not going to like go crazy on the customer because they use a circuit breaker for a switch. I mean, it's not ideal, but in certain situations, it's better than leaving equipment on. So, you know, I mean, because we get these customers that they'll get a walk-in freezer delivery and they'll leave the door open for 4 hours while they're loading the walk-in freezer. I'm not exaggerating. So, instead of leaving the door open for 4 hours and leaving the equipment running, they turn the circuit breakers off. So yeah, in a perfect world, they'd have some sort of a disconnect switch, by the equipment, or a 3-phase switch at the equipment or something like that. But they don't want to pay for that stuff. They just want to use a circuit breaker, one less thing for them. And so we just do what they say. So, all right. Reading through the chat, seeing what I'm missing here. Hey, Will, what's up, bud? Hopefully I'll see you in a couple weeks. So that'll be awesome. I think I heard you say you were going to AHR, right, Will? So yeah, hopefully I'll see you there. Let's see. Shamir says, everything residential is inverted. Great rebates here in Phoenix for our customers. Yeah, but I mean, we don't need to get going too deep into the weeds on this stuff, but you gotta do some math here. Rebates are great, but the problem with rebates is that they get the rebate, thinking it's cheap, but it's really not. I mean, the equipment's not affordable if it wasn't for a rebate. So that's the problem I have with things. If it wasn't for a rebate, I mean, if you're getting a rebate, that just means taxes in some way or another are paying for it. So, yeah, but anyways, whatever. Any update on the overtime group? Let's see. What do you mean update on the overtime group? As in, what about it? What do you mean update? You mean the HVAC overtime show? We had a show last Friday. Are you talking about us being gone for a while? Like, give me some context, put it back in the chat and I'll read it. Okay. Let's see. Make sure you put it in caps lock so I see. I just needed context as to what you mean by what happened to overtime. I'm reading through the comments that I have, or questions that I have. So I know a lot of people have been giving me comments about the audio at the end of my videos. How it hasn't been great. Yeah, I decided to make some changes in my office, and it kind of had some ramifications to making those changes, because I took all the bookcases behind me out because they were just getting dirty and hard to clean, full of junk, and I was sick of looking at that. And I put these toolboxes in. Well, when I did that, I created a huge echo in my office. Also, I have tile floors in here, and I usually have a rug on there, but the rug got destroyed because of a stupid animal that we have. And so I had to get rid of the rug, and I haven't gotten a new rug yet. So yeah, the audio is a little funky, but I'm trying some new things out, right? I needed some new stuff. I'm kind of still figuring out my office. I'm editing and streaming on a MacBook now. Got a big display in front of me. So like I'm still trying to figure everything out and get my groove going on with this new office. But another thing too, not to get into like this weird area and stuff, but I've been trying to make these videos fun for myself, because to be honest with you, they're not very fun anymore. When I started this was a lot of fun because it was exciting to see the channel become something. I think this has something to do with some weird issues I have going on in my head too with stuff. But, it just kind of getting burnt out on the videos, and I needed some things to change. So my office is one of them. Like, as weird as it sounds, I was sick of looking at that display behind me. It was driving me nuts. Like, I look at myself in a camera all the time. I'm looking at myself on the screen right now, and I just got sick of seeing that boring thing behind me. So I just needed something different. And I'm kind of changing things up. And then, like I said, it just kind of, we're working things out. It'll get there. But with the videos, I'm just trying to be a little bit more prioritize my own headspace over, consistency and posting 2 videos a week, a live stream a day or a week. It starts to get a bit much. So I'm just kind of trying to take a little bit of a slow step approach, change some things up, make it a little bit more fun for myself. And here we go. Mike B says he likes the clean room look. Yeah, I like it too. There's some things I want to change. That coax behind me is driving me bonkers coming out the wall. But overtime show, missed the most recent show. Oh, okay, yeah. So HVAC overtime show, kind of with these videos too, we were all getting really, really busy, super stressed out. Adam started a new job. Bill had a new baby. I was going crazy at work, dealing with a lot of work stuff. Joe was going through some stuff, and we all just decided to take a month and some change off. And that's what I did with this live stream too, was just took a month and some change off. And then now we're back, so we're going to try to have fun with this. We want to make some changes to the overtime show. Let's see if those changes and how long they'll take us to make. But we want to have some different segments to the overtime show. If you guys don't know, I do a show with my friends on Friday evenings called the HVAC Overtime Show. It's on YouTube. It's my buddy Adam, my buddy Joe, my buddy Bill, and myself. And it's just, it's funny because the overtime show started a few years ago before me, actually. It started with Adam and John Israel, and Zach Ciota started it. And then eventually people moved, people came, people left, a few different people. And then here I am. I came to the show. And, it's been a few years that I've been doing it with them. The show originally, the way I would describe it is, imagine 4 guys after work, 4 beers deep at the bar, just talking. That's what the show started as. And, it's still kind of that. But the funny thing is a lot of us have gotten older. We don't drink quite as much. And, we don't, we've told a lot of those stories. So it's slowly transitioning to, we want to get a little more serious. We want to still have fun, but have some, more serious stuff going on in there, right? Freddie says, my videos started out as training, correct? Yes, that is correct, Freddie. I should go for a new tech perspective, help build the new generation of HVAC techs. You're one of them. You've learned a lot from me. Thanks, bud. Yeah, no, I did have fun when I started making the Apprentice series videos. Those are kind of fun. And yeah, see, the thing is that I have never, and this is what, there's nothing wrong. Like, I'm still going to keep making videos, but I've always done these videos my way. Okay. And, I could tell some funny stories about manufacturers. Like, I'm not kidding with you. One of the manufacturers that I originally started in the very beginning, one of my very first manufacturers that I started to work with was Milwaukee Tools, of all things. I did one project with them. And, it's funny because I look at people and Milwaukee's exploded, but that was never the direction that I wanted to go. I never wanted to be a dedicated tools channel, right? I never wanted to just push tools down people's throats. It's just not my style. Now, don't get me wrong. I do talk about tools. I have an affiliate link with True Tech Tools, and there is some amazing tool channels out there. And I watch some of them. I watch Tool Pros. I watch, there's some construction ones too that I watch, and I watch those videos. It's just not what I do. I make the more take you to work with me videos. I don't want to have to put any more effort into these than that. But it's funny though, because yeah, I went to work with Milwaukee, and back then it was, you started as, not many people were getting paid back then. So you started with free tools at first, and we did one little project, but I told them before I did the project, and I said, I don't make tool reviews. I make videos, using your tools. I actually came across this email recently where I read the email that I had to Milwaukee Tools telling them, like, because they approached me first. It was when my channel was still small. And I just told them, I was like, look, I make the videos the way that I want to. You guys can't control the titles. You can't tell me what to do. You're just going to get the honor of me using the tool in the video. That's my style of doing things, right? Hence, you see, when I do use tools in videos, I just use tools. It's just not my style, right? So anyways, long story short, I made the video, I sent it to Milwaukee, and then they were like, yeah, no, can you change the title? Can you put links to Home Depot? Can you do this? Can you do that? And I was like, no, that's cool. So I said, where do you want me to send the tool back? I'll send it back to you. You can have it back. This is not how I want to do things. Like, I told them I wasn't going to do that. And anyways, whatever. Not knocking them. It was just, the way that they were doing things. Also, to be fair, I also know that it's not necessarily Milwaukee's Tools way of doing things. It just happened to be the representative for Milwaukee Tools that I was dealing with. Okay. It was that individual person's style of asking me to do things. And I'm not saying that Milwaukee's hard to work with or anything like that. It was just, they asked me to do something I didn't want to do, so I didn't work with them anymore. So anyways, I went off on a tangent with that one, didn't I? All right. Okay, techs and safety. How often do I have a tech-to-tech calm down and put safety over production? Actually, it happens quite often where my technicians, I can guarantee you that they at times will get annoyed with me because I have to remind them, hey, I know you can do that, but I don't want you to do that. I'm paraphrasing things that I have to say. I know that they can safely do it, but it's like, hey, that's pushing the limit of what I feel comfortable with you guys doing. And I don't want you to do those certain things because I'm afraid you're going to get hurt. My guys probably hear that from me quite often. Okay. So I'm very concerned with safety, with my guys. But I'm still not the best boss ever. Okay. 100% hands down. I'm probably the worst boss ever. I'm genuinely serious. Like, trust me, I really wish someone could come run my company for me. All right. Let's see. If you could work with a manufacturer in the way you're talking about, Heatcraft Fieldpiece, Yeah, and that is how I work with the companies that I have worked with. I'm not currently working with Fieldpiece Tools, but I have in the past, and that's how I worked with them. That's how I work with Sporlin. Nobody tells me what to say. Nobody pays me to do like this, you know, like say this, show this, say these phrases. I don't do that. No. I do natural, right? You know, and to be honest with you, don't tell them, but most of the manufacturers that I do work with, if you go watch my videos long before I started working with them, I was using their products, right? I'm not using their products, you know, simply because they're paying me, but I mean, I probably still continue to use their products if they weren't working with me anymore. I mean, because I use what I feel comfortable with, right? And I believe in. So, all right, reading through here. Overall, what was my favorite troubleshooting experience at a service call? I had a service call during COVID, and I was supposed to be on the HVAC overtime show during COVID. Some of my customers, and this, I was very thankful for this. I have some really, really amazing customers. Okay. And during COVID, things were slow, right? Especially in the beginning here in California. Our employees technically all went on unemployment during COVID for a brief time, for like a month or 3 weeks or something like that, because we didn't know. Work just literally came to a standstill. And so we encouraged them. We still paid their insurance through the entire time, but we encouraged them to go on unemployment for that brief amount of time during COVID. And that way they still had health insurance, but they were getting something because we couldn't afford to pay them, right? And then long story short, towards the end, we were, because of help from, you know, the government and stuff, we were able to pay them and all that. And anyways, long story short, but during that time, I had a walk-in freezer video. And what it was one of my customers called me, and it wasn't a customer, it wasn't a service location that I normally service, but they were allowing and giving me the work over other companies in my area. And they knew, and I told them, you know, during that time, we could drive extra far because there was nobody on the road. So we were driving far away to locations, to customers that we normally didn't service. And, you know, because we were thankful they were giving us the work, right? So anyways, I had a video where it was a walk-in freezer, and the customer had another company out there. I was able to get all the invoices from the other company, and I went through a stack of invoices. I wish I could show you these invoices. I wish that company was out of business, but they're not, because I would show you the invoices. But anyways, customer spent a bunch of money with them. They couldn't figure out the problem. It was a walk-in freezer that had a circuit board replaced, 3 fan motors replaced, defrost clock replaced, sensors replaced. It was like they just kept changing everything in the system because they couldn't figure out why the coil kept icing up. And when I finally figured it out, it was a fun one because it was such a head scratcher, but it was so funny when I figured it out. They installed a replacement evaporator coil. They had just installed the equipment, and the customer used to have a different brand of equipment, and they went to Heatcraft. When they went to Heatcraft, the coil was about an inch taller. Because it was an inch taller, the drain line no longer had the correct pitch on it. Now, it was still going down, but the problem was, because the coil was an inch taller, the drain line was pushing up on the bottom of the coil in the center of the drain pan, to the point that it made a dimple like that, where the water, when it would drain, would go to each side of the dimple, and it would never go down the drain itself. And the ice kept building up, and they kept having this problem. And all I had to do was drill through the wall and lower the drain line 1 inch for that to solve all their problems. And what the customer probably spent, you know, $2,000, $2,500 with me, maybe $3,000 at the most. I don't remember what it was. There was a bunch of overtime involved, but with me and another technician. But anyways, once they, you know, it all ended up being just a really simple problem. It was a bad install by the other company. That was a really fun service call. That was a very memorable service call, and probably one of my favorites to this day, just because it was a fun one. Recently, I had a service call. And this is something, as I get older, challenges are fun, and to an extent, right? And so usually the most difficult service calls, the most frustrating service calls, they turn out to be the best stories to tell later, when you usually get them figured out. If you can get it figured out in the end, you're like, oh my gosh, in hindsight, I would have done this, I would have done that, and I would have been to this conclusion much faster, right? But it's always fun to tell those stories later, the really difficult ones. All right, let's see what else we got going on in the chat. Small Engines, thanks for becoming a channel member, man. That's really, really awesome. Really do appreciate it. Let's see. You have a problem with an EEV on a walk-in cooler with a solenoid making a huge ice ball. Only right at the distributor in 1/4-inch tubes, right outside the box. Dishwasher, tons of humidity, charge and pressure's okay. Not sure what to do next. That's a very interesting one, James. First, backwards, figure out if that was installed right. Does it have the right distributor? Is it set for the right refrigerant? What's going on with it? Something's going on there. Is there a restriction in the expansion line? Like there's a bunch of different ideas to go with there. Is it actually at the distributor, or is it an ice ball in the TXV section? Because sometimes, depending on the manufacturer, like with KE2, they would have ice balls in the TXV section, and it was because the defrost sensors weren't positioned in the right spot, or you'd have to add a second defrost sensor. The drain pan heater wasn't extending far enough out into the ears of the coil to have heat during defrost, and so ice would build up on the expansion valve, and then once ice starts to build, it just continues to go and then explode. Just keeps getting worse and worse. I've seen that happen because of manufacturers, right? And not just with KE2, but KE2 is one of them where I had to add extra sensors, to the coils that they were installed in. All right, let's see what else we got going on in the chat right now. The harder the call, the more fun. Right. Yeah, exactly, Will. 100%. So, okay, I'm reading through the chat right now. Cool. What's the worst AC damage I've ever seen? I've had, during COVID, I also had some homeless people get up onto a restaurant. And look, these are the old Lennox L series units, and they were already in really bad shape. I'll give them that much. These units were like 25 years old already. So they were really old, and the customer didn't take care of them. But during COVID, some homeless people got on the roof, tweakers, trying to steal the copper, but they didn't cut out the coils, okay? They literally went and tried to kick the drain lines off. So they kicked the drain lines off. The drain lines were copper, and when they kicked them off to the point that they broke the drain lines, it broke right at the roof deck. The drain line then that was going through the roof fell down into the roof. They had a ceiling up there, right? And it fell down below the roof deck. So I could no longer access that. That entire restaurant has a tongue and groove ceiling that you have to go crawling around the whole building to get to that area. They had to get plumbers out there to redo the drain lines under the roof deck, penetrate them up 18 inches and secure them so they wouldn't come down again if someone ever kicked them off again, right? But then not only did the tweakers do that, they broke the drain pans on the units. And on one of the units, they damaged the condenser coil. So basically, they destroyed all their ACs. They had 5 ACs on the roof. Now, this was in the height of COVID. These things, again, they were already in bad shape, but they just destroyed them. We were in the height of COVID, and it took like 8 months to get 6 new air conditioners or 5 new air conditioners. It took forever. That customer went almost an entire summer without air conditioning. It was insane. And it was all because they couldn't get equipment from COVID. So Chris Haraga is asking, who do I use for commercial auto? So Chris, we use, well, first off, we have a broker, okay? And our broker, negotiates the best rates. Right now we're with Progressive, but it's all done through our broker, and our broker gets us the rates and everything. So if you're interested, shoot me an email and I can get you my broker's name. I'm sure they can at least give you quotes or something if you want some more phone calls. But my broker's pretty good, or at least works for us, I should say. But we also have a few more people than you, I think, Chris. Or at least I don't know how many guys you have, Chris. How many trucks are you running right now? So we're running 4 trucks, including my own. Well, no, actually, technically, we have 4 service vans, but we technically have 6 vehicles. So we have 6 vehicles on the insurance policy. So we're super small, but I think you're a little bit smaller than me. Are you not, Chris? But anyways, Chris is local to me. So, yeah. All right. Oh, okay, cool. Is HVACR a young man's job? Thinking of a career change at the age of 43. Would be out of school at 45 or 46. Would love to hear my thoughts. So Mike B says he changed at 43, 10 years ago. It's doable. It's totally doable. Find the right company. But let me explain something, though. Mike B can attest to this. You have to have drive, okay? Because you do have to have energy and drive in this trade. And Mike B can 100% attest to this. Your first summer is going to kick your butt, okay? But for me, it is a very rewarding career. It's very beneficial for my family. I love the challenge, and I'm sure a lot of the guys that are in the stream could say so too. Okay. So do what's best for you and your family. I highly suggest, if you're interested in this, investigate it. I would say that I want you to be very careful with your schooling, because there's a lot of for-profit schools that will promise you the world and they will not deliver the world. Okay. So keep that in mind. Be cautious about the system and the schools that you pay for, because, you know, I can 100% guarantee you that coming straight out of trade school, you are not going to be a service tech. Here's one of the things that I get the most annoyed. I put you know, when people message me, you know, because I put out a hiring thing, right? And they tell me that they have experience. And when I go through their resume, they've only been to trade school, right? The schools are telling them that 18 months of trade school is experience. That's not experience. When someone puts experience required, that means that I need a tech that's been in the trade for a while, right? Not just what they did in trade school. So some of these schools, not all of them, some of them promise the kids the world or the students the world, and they don't deliver. So just do your research on the schools. Be very cautious with for-profit schools. There's more bad for-profit schools than there is good for-profit schools. And that's sad, but there is good ones out there. Okay, 100%. If you go follow my buddy Ty Brannaman on social media, he has some great things to say about trade schools. Ty was in the education system and still is in the education system, but he's worked for a bunch of the for-profit trade schools, and Ty has a lot of information to give people and things to look out for and advice for people that want to go to the for-profit trade schools. But to be fair too, there is for-profit trade schools that Ty Brannaman recommends. Okay. So like I said, there is some good ones out there, but unfortunately there's more bad ones than there is good ones. Okay. So be very cautious when you're looking into these schools. All right, cool. Cool. Be truthfully, how much do I hate thermoplastic, TPO roofs, that white slippery stuff? You know what, Scott S? Yeah, I do agree. Okay, cool. Yeah, so yeah, shoot me an email, Chris. I'll get you the information for my broker. I'm not saying it'll be any better, but at least you can make a phone call. So, yeah, so, you know, the TPO roofs, the rubber TPO roofs, for me, it's not so much the slipperiness, because we don't know what cold is here in Southern California, and we don't know what rain is here in Southern California, but we know what sunshine is. So for me, the TPO roofs are a nightmare when it's sunny outside, especially a newer TPO roof. My gosh, you can have amazing polarized sunglasses and you still can't see up on the roof, and you get a dang sunburn, it feels like, because sometimes they get so bright with the sun reflecting off of them. Or after you get done cleaning a bunch of coils and you wet down the roof, oh my gosh, those TPO roofs are ridiculous. Yeah, I hate them very much. So, but I will say that they look really clean. Talk to me, Chris. I'd talk about that. I'm interested. I could talk to you about that. Yeah, shoot me an email. Let's talk more, bud. All right. School would be all right. All right, cool. Yeah, I don't know that specific school, so I really don't know. Freon Leon says he was in the special education system. Hey, man, you know what? I know you're joking, but hey, you know what? Whatever. It all works, man. We all got our own weaknesses, right? But yeah. All right. I'm reading through my questions and things that I want to cover here. Yeah, that's about it. Okay, so let's go ahead and start to wrap this up, because I'm going to go have some dinner with my family and hang out for a bit. So let's recap. I'm going to be at the HVACR training symposium here at HVAC school, that HVAC school is putting on. You know, I just started thinking about it. Hopefully I didn't say in the very beginning, I said the same thing. It's not being held at the Kalos offices this year. So I hope I didn't say that in the beginning. But the HVAC school symposium put on by HVAC school is going to be at a conference center in the greater Orlando area this year. So I will be out at that in about a week. And then I will also be at AHR about 4 days later. My wife, HVACR wife, is going to be flying out there with me. She's going to be, you know, helping me with some camera stuff. And that's going to be nice. You know, one of the things about I don't know how those people that travel, like my buddy Adam Muffich from the Overtime Show. He, you know, travels for his job. He works for NCI and he travels around the country doing trainings and different things. I don't know how he does it, because I don't like being away from home. I really don't. It messes with my head. And so going to AHR every year and going to the symposium every other year, like I have been doing, it starts to beat me down. I don't like being away from home. So this year I feel like I'm going to have a better time because my wife's going with me. And yeah, I don't like leaving home. I don't know. I'm probably weird or something, but yeah, so it'll be nice to have her there. So that way I don't like get overwhelmed being alone for an entire week and a half. It's kind of crazy, but call me weird or whatever. Hey, I really appreciate you making it to the stream. Thanks so much. If you guys haven't already, please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. And also leave me some feedback down in the comments. Again, thank you so very much. I don't have any outro music today. Actually, no, I don't. I don't have any outro music. So it is what it is. And I don't even have, wait, maybe I do. Hold on just one second. I might have something, add item. Let's see if I can do this. I actually think I can do this. It's been a while. Not this. Hold on. Cancel. I have to do, they made some changes to this stream. Slides and, there we go. Yeah, I do have this. Okay, they made some changes to my software. So I'm going to go ahead and queue up the outro music, and we will catch you on the next one.